In this video, we're gonna get straight to knee pain, straight to it, resolving any type of knee pain that you may have. I don't care if you've torn your ACL yesterday. I don't care if you have patellar tendonitis, you have a torn meniscus, you have stabbing pain, you have achiness, you have weakness, you have hip popping because of the knee pain. We're gonna break it down and how to address it step by step in this video with all these movements laid out here. This is literally a session that we would go through with people if they came into our gym with knee pain. We're gonna give it to you guys for free. With all of us. Let's get rolling. If you come in and you're struggling with knee pain, oh my goodness, it may be swelling, whatever it is. The first step in doing so is the elephant walk. The goal is to bring our toes slightly inward, bring our feet a little bit closer together. And he's starting at this level, okay? Somebody may start at this level, depending on where they're at. The key thing is to bend both knees at the same time and to extend one leg, squeezing the quad, engaging your big toe into the ground and lifting your hip to the sky as high as you possibly can. The goal is for him to continuously bend his elbows and tuck his chin, rounding his back more and more, holding that position, squeezing the quad, and feeling a deep stretch between sides. Now again, how I would coach this, if I'm coaching Zay right here, feet closer together, closer, 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 closer. Okay, good. Bend both knees again. And then extend right here. Hold, squeeze the quad, tuck your chin, round your back more, hip to the sky. Keep holding, keep holding. Good. Engage your big toe into the ground, hip to the sky more. Squeeze the quad. Good. Keep bending your elbows, tucking your chin more. Pick up your toes a little bit. Good. Keep holding that stretch and bend the knees again and then keep going. But again, it can start here. Like my grandma can start doing this. And then you can start getting to lower levels. Here, here. Again, if you have pain, if you have more tightness between sides, you're working slower. You're only working to here, spending time in that position. Then you're switching, spending time in this position. Okay, elephant walk. Now, we're gonna go to couch stretch. What we like to use for this is just a pad. So we got Coach Daza right here, set up against the pad. So the goal is to get your knee completely against the pad. So set up so that your knee is entirely against the pad, Daz. And again, where do most people start with this? Most people already feel a deep stretch right away here. What we're doing with this is feeling out the middle quad muscle. So this muscle right here in the knee called the rectus femoris, we're trying to open up. Okay, so keep your hips back, right? And most people will feel it already in that position. The goal eventually is to kick into the pad and lean back to the point where you can squeeze your glutes, kick actively in the pad and keep your shoulders back. But again, we want to start at progression level. So you would start with your hands down on the floor and then you would inch your way slowly. What would that look like? So you're just working here, okay, here, okay, and then you're working there. And this would potentially happen over the span of weeks, months, or maybe days, depending on what the level of knee pain that you're at. And just for reference, I could show as well an example right here on the screen of what a couch stretch would look like on an incline bench for someone who can't even bend into that position on the ground, where they can literally just start against an incline bench, holding that position, feeling out the level of stretch that they can handle without pushing any pain, and just continuously deep breaths into that middle quad muscle, spending more time in the position, minute to 2 minutes between sides. Now, we're gonna get to the big toe stretch. Now, let's just say someone came to us and was like, you know, hey, they have a ACL tear, right? They probably wouldn't be able to get into a deep big toe stretch. So what would we do instead just to be able to start getting some range in the bottom of the foot? The big toe stretch is to be able to open up the fascia of the foot. And so the fascia basically starts right here and stems all the way down to the foot, and then it keeps going all the way throughout your body, but we're trying to just open up the plantar fascia. Most people with plantar fasciitis, this is a big problem. And so someone who's maybe just torn their ACL, they can't even get into that knee bend. Let's just slide up a little bit more. Okay, that would probably be the level that someone would be at. And the only thing that we would tell them to do is just to pulse. Pulse backward, trying to feel a deep stretch in the big toe. So what he's doing is just moving his weight continuously, feeling a deeper stretch in the bottom of the foot. Why do we do this for knee pain? Well, fascia plays a big role in knee pain overall. And what is fascia? It's web-like material. It's very complex. Nobody can actually see it in the body. But what we're doing right now is literally just trying to find the area at the bottom of the foot that can potentially stem up the chain to this knee itself. And so what Boyle just did is he started out here, right? And the goal eventually would be to progress slowly, very slowly, to deeper knee bends. The couch stretch is gonna help you get there as well, to being able to get higher and higher, to be able to hold his entire body weight on his big toes and be comfortable and strong in that position. If you're watching this video, you say you just torn your meniscus, you're not gonna get to this level. Start there, start just pulsing. Now we're gonna get into Seiza coils. Okay, so we're sitting on our ankles, we're being comfortable here. We're going to get our elbow into our hip, open up this hand, hike our hip up, hike the right hip up. This hand is gonna be out and we're twisting this hand, opening up, looking at it, looking at the hand as well. Trying to feel an entire stretch all the way around the side. Get a deep breath and reach the hand to the sky higher and higher and higher while still squeezing that elbow into the hip. And then we're alternating between sides. And this is the Seiza coil. Squeezing that elbow into the hip, hand to the sky, reach as high as you can, deep breath down the entire chain of the body. Now, why are we doing this? This isn't necessarily directly correlated with knee pain. Well, he's in a deep knee bend, right? We do want to get to that point. If someone that can't necessarily get into a deep knee bend, we would have them sit on something like this without deep knee bend and just being able to open up between sides. What I've noticed in my experience coaching a ton of athletes, over 1,000 athletes, and probably 60% of them had potentially some type of knee pain, is that balancing out the pelvis was one of the biggest things correlated to more knee pain on one leg compared to the other. And so what we're trying to do here is trying to open up the pelvis, trying to balance it out, feeling that stretch all the way down to the low back between sides. And just one more thing, I don't give a shit about reps and sets. My whole thing is work the same amount of reps between sides and really focus on you getting that deep stretch on your more vulnerable side, and that is all. The next step, so let's just say, Daz, you just tore your meniscus, you just tore your ACL. What level would you be at if you just walked into the gym? Let's switch legs. So you'd be there, right? And you're going down, that's probably the most knee bend that you'd probably be able to get, right? Let's bring this back leg further back, okay? And we're just doing a normal split squat hold, but for someone who's probably just had a knee injury, knee surgery, they're not gonna be able to get into a deep knee bend. But we wanna get them to a knee bend that they can handle after doing the stuff that we just did previously and be able to get there. And what we wanna focus on is actually this back hip more. So if you can see his back leg, his chest is high, he's using the poles, and he wants to all his weight loaded onto this back foot, keeping the heel slightly out, and he wants to work at a level that he can handle without pushing through pain. So get some short range of motion reps almost, kind of pulses in that bottom position. And this is what it would really look like if someone came into our gym. We could put a picture on the screen here. We could put a picture of Austin, who resolved his ACL issue within 3 months with us completely. And so that's the only level of progression that we would be at with a split squat hold. Let's just say someone is more advanced, but they have slight knee pain. What would it look like? Lower level, getting into a deeper knee bend, being able to get into a deeper position, less assistance, right? Keeping the back leg as active as we possibly can, trying to sink deeper into that bottom position without having a flare up in the front of the knee. And again, we would do this between both sides, right? So let's just say, Daz, switch sides. Even if you had knee pain on one leg compared to the other side, you would want to just be super active and really opening up on both sides. We don't want to create more imbalances for yourself. And so this is what we're doing with the split squat hold here. You can pulse into the bottom position. You can do some hip flexor pulses as well, like Daz is doing here. But just feeling out this position and spending more time in it is going to be gold for you. Minute, 2 minutes, 30 seconds if you're very vulnerable. That's where we want to be at with that. Next step in the process of resolving knee pain. Again, we're still working on mobility. Why? Because if you have an injury, the biggest thing that we've noticed with people is that they become tight and vulnerable in all different areas, and we got to be able to address that first before getting into anything that's more complex or we're getting into a knee over toe movement. So, wall groin stretch. Let's show how you get into it. Okay, so he sits on the ground, his butt is completely against the wall, then he's going to slide his legs up, twist his body, his torso, and then he's going to get wide with his feet, as wide as he possibly can. The key thing with the wall groin is to be able to squeeze your quads and sink your feet lower and lower and lower to the ground while sinking your butt and your low back into the floor itself, pushing your low back into the floor. And the goal is, eventually we want to get to an even area of the foot, right? If I want to have a complete straight line between sides. Some people who have knee pain though, they end up looking like this between sides, where it's a little bit tighter on one side compared to the other. And we just got to continuously work to that balance and just spending time in that deep position, squeezing quads and sinking the butt lower to the floor. And that's the goal with this, is what we're doing is just spending time in this position, deep breaths, sinking the lower and lower into the floor. And you may feel some vulnerableness in the adductor or around the knee. That's fine. That's where the adductor and groin attaches to the knee. And so we're just really just opening it up and letting gravity do its job of pushing the body down. Now, next, we're gonna get into the hip hinge hold. This is the first movement where we're actually gonna create some stability in the knee and be strong in a slightly knee bent position. So your hips are gonna be against the wall. Toes are in slightly. I'm probably about a foot off of the wall. You're gonna be floating on your heels. Your toes are gonna be in. You're gonna be engaging your transverse arch, this area of your foot into the ground, not your toes. Don't scrunch your toes into the ground, your transverse arch. Then you're gonna get wide with your knees. You're gonna come down with your chest up high, hips high up the wall. Engage the ball of your foot into the ground. So don't scrunch your toes. What would it look like if you scrunch your toes? We don't want that. We want the toes to be relaxed. We want to engage the ball of your foot into the ground, that transverse arch. Get the knees wider. This is how the back should look. Completely flat. We don't want rounding of the, we don't want any of that. Come up chest high. We're being strong here. Knees get wider, and we're floating on our heels. So we're not in a calf raise here. What does the calf raise look like? We don't want to be up there with the toes, just floating on the ground. My hand can slide underneath, but that's about it. You're gonna find what hamstring is a little bit more vulnerable for you. For Coach Boyle, it's his left. Deep breathe into this left hamstring and keep your knee going wider while engaging the toe into the ground. This is a very complex movement, so you gotta really focus on the cues and maybe do this with me as you're going. Keep the chest high, keep the knees going wider and wider and wider, actively opening up that left hamstring. Deep breath. The goal in the gym is chase the shake. We wanna chase the shake and open up any vulnerability, any imbalance that you have in your hamstring behind the knee. The next step is hands to the floor. You wanna round your back, right? Palms on the floor, good. Now you wanna get deep breaths. Now you wanna inch your feet further closer to the wall, slowly, yep. Drop your heels to the ground. Bring your hips higher up the wall. Deep breath now, deep breath. Keep your knees wide. And we wanna hold this position actively, still feeling that shake, but this is gonna relieve a ton of tension in your hamstring and your pelvis and behind the knee itself. And now again, Boyo is at a very advanced level. For an average person, he'd probably be up here, like struggling. And then you can relax and come back up. And so that is the hip hinge hold. So now we've gone through all mobility moves for the knee. 3 things that we need to do to start actually gaining strength in the knee now is ROKP. Now what does that look like for the average person? So it starts with walking backwards, but being strong and intentional while walking backwards, super slow, very controlled. We usually start people literally just having their hand on the wall. But watch what I'm doing, okay? I'm being really intentional and slow, getting knee over toe with my step and switching between sides. This position I wanna be really strong in. Going really slow, super controlled, just like that. Again, working to a level where you can get a little bit faster. Just being strong like this, right? And again, this is for someone who's potentially really hurt their knee bad or is dealing with a lot of pain. And eventually, the goal is to be able to get into something like a sled, where you're literally, no weight is bearing down on you. You're literally just walking backwards, being able to drag weight and slowly build knee strength in a very small bent position. That's the key thing with sled, is why it's so user-friendly. Most people wouldn't be able to get into this position if they just hurt their knee. But most people would be able to get into this position, and that's the goal, is to be strong and kick out of those positions, and the sled can do so. And so you literally just wanna work walking backwards with a sled, and that is it. You also wanna walk forwards. Okay, a little bit more of a knee bent position, a little bit more tension on the knee. But just working sled trips down and back, 4, 5, 6, 7 sets of sled is going to resolve a ton of knee pain. And the last 2 movements I want to just give you to be able to actually start resolving this is tib raises, hopping on the wall like this. Feet are further off the wall, hips are against the wall, hands at your hips. and we're raising our toes up to the sky, getting as high as we can. Really just keeping slow and control amount of reps. What we are doing is training the front side of the knee to the ankle, which is probably most potent for knee protection. Most people are very weak here after injury. We want to get 20 to 25 reps, just like this. And then we're going to turn around and get bent knee calf raises. These are basically Michael Jackson's. So you ever seen Michael Jackson go like this? We're going to get here, bend the knees to the maximum extent, hips back, chest high, and raise. And we're going to get slow, controlled reps between sides. If you've already hurt one leg compared to the other, you want to focus on that weaker leg. Let's just say it's my right. I'm going to come up with 2 and then fight the way down on that weaker leg and get the same amount of reps on both sides with that fighting the way down. Fighting the way down. And I want to make sure that my knee doesn't lock out. I'm staying in that bent position. Boom. Fight the way down. Boom. Fight the way down. You see how my knee doesn't get straighter? It stays bent, controlling back down every single time. You work on 20 to 30 to 40 reps between sides like that, your knee is going to be much, much stronger, much more resilient. You should have completely transformed where your knee is at from the movements that we did in the video in the beginning up to this point. If you were with us and doing the movements live, you should have made progress. Let me know in the comments if you've seen yourself being able to resolve some of these issues. Again, don't ever focus on pushing through pain. Work at your level. Yeah, this should be able to resolve all different types of knee issues. Let me know if this helps. Stay locked in.